Hi guys, welcome. And this is Kelly with Cleanly Consumed. And today we get to talk to Ferryl McClain, which is a bioenergetic pharmacist. So I'm so excited. I was able to meet with Ferryl, Dr. McClain, a few weeks ago, and just was so fascinated with all of the information that and the things that we talked about, and the things that I learned, and just how good of a resource that she is. And you're blessed to have her in your area, and then also people that live all over. So welcome. Thank you so much, Dr. McClain. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Good, good. Well, let's just go ahead and just, dive right in. I wanted just to, because I didn't really understand, all the fascinating work that you do. So let's kind of explain how your compounding pharmacy, or how your services, how they complement the pharmacy. How does that differ from a regular pharmacist?
Okay, I'm headquartered at Hakerville Pharmacy, and we're called a hybrid pharmacy. We do more than a typical CVS or Walmart does. Not in addition to dispensing medications as they do, we also do compounding services. So if someone needed something specially made, bioidenticals, pain medications, anything like that, we're able to do that. We don't do sterile compounding. Sterile means IV or ophthalmic solutions, but anything else we can compound. And the way we differ from other pharmacies as well is we have a community approach. When you come into our facilities, we have a soda fountain with ice cream and tea. We want to be a community center. We have tons of comfortable sofas you can sit on, chairs. We try to have wellness fairs. And then also, if you come into Hakerville, how our pharmacy differs from other pharmacies is we have the only bioenergetic pharmacist in the U.S. So that's our difference.
I have to say, I was really surprised. I didn't know what I was walking into as far as the pharmacy. And so it felt like a small town, very welcoming, and you as well. So you're the pharmacy, and you are a huge blessing to the area, and I was very impressed.
Thank you.
What type of products do you check for? Tell us a little bit about BioScan and what that does, and
Okay,
what you can check for.
Great. Okay, for BioScan is a technology that's been around for 30 years. It started off in Europe, went to the Far East, South America, Canada. So the science has been around for a long time, but it's new to America. So anytime I say BioScan or bioenergetic screening, 9 out of 10 people, well, more than 9, probably 9.5 out of 10 people say I've never heard of it. So basically what we do is we use your energetic codes. It's the combination of Western medicine with Eastern medicine with high technology. And we actually use the energy that's coming out of your acupressure points on your fingers and toes, and we measure that energy. Depending which finger, which toe is directly related to an organ. So we can actually scan every organ in your body and tell you what the health status is. If that organ is healthy and balanced, leave it alone. If it's stressed, it tells us that. If it's weakened, but it pinpoints the top 5 organs that's really truly causing the person's conditions now. And we actually take no patient history. It's a paradigm shift. Most of the time when you come into the doctor's office or the pharmacy, you have to tell us what's wrong, and then we'll try to recommend something based on what you verbally tell us. This technology, I actually have to no patient history. I scan you and I can pinpoint exactly what's been going on. I can even see timelines, what's been chronic, what's been acute. And then from that, it's solution based. We're looking for solutions, and it actually can find solutions, again, using your body's energetic codes, a combination of radio wave signals coming from the computer, but fascinating technology.
It is fascinating. And I think sometimes people will go in to visit with a practitioner, and either they have a mental list or they have a list of things that they want to mention, but nevertheless, when they leave, they're like, oh, I forgot to mention this, yes, or why didn't I bring this up? And so that's one element that gets taken out of the puzzle, is that they don't need to come in, except they need to come in hydrated.
Yes, correct.
So how would the BioScan, I guess is the technology or the system that you use, how does that differ from some others that are out there? Or I think there's probably a lot of people out there that have never even been around or heard about that type of technology. So what's a way of explaining that on like the clinical research, or how that is valid? I think for some it might sound a little bit out there.
Mm-hmm. I guess the manufacturer and also maybe a couple of the universities, they've done double-blind studies. As far as the validation process went, they went through the FDA guidelines that was necessary. It's considered an FDA Class 2A device. So you have to, submit paperwork and studies, and they did. And so that's how the government, approved it. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
Yes, you are, because you just said FDA. And so I think
Uh-huh.
a lot of times people think that maybe things are a little bit alternative, or when you mention the word energy, it scares
Yes.
people. So I think some people discount the energy. I was listening to something the other day, and they were talking about the mind-body connection, and when you're holding a lemon, how you instantly have your salivary glands start working.
Yes.
And so I think people discount energy, and they, when you go and someone would do an MRI, they can see the body, they can see the energy. And so I think that kind of seems a little out there, but it's not. And so when you say FDA, I think that in a way could comfort a percentage of the population, knowing that the FDA recognizes it.
That's correct.
So I think that's huge.
Yes.
And so when someone comes in, then I know that you do scans for organs, and then you scan, and maybe they have a prescription, and they, compounding it and getting it, targeted for them. What are some other things that you can scan for?
Basically, no matter what the condition is, I can scan. What I do, because I'm a pharmacist, again, a lot of my emphasis is pharmacy/herbal, anything that they're ingesting. So my first concern is, before I find a solution, because that's what people are coming to me for. They need a solution. They've been to this doctor, that doctor, tried this herb. So the first thing I do, Kelly, is that I actually test every one of their products that they've taken in the last 30 days.
Okay.
And when I say products, not just the prescription products, I'm trying to educate the public. Over the counter, herb, anything like that, it can have just as much benefits, and it can have just as much damage as a pharmaceutical if it's not your match. So that's the first thing I do. Some people want to know why they're in that situation. Why am I so tired? Why am I having headaches? If they want those why answers, my technology can give you that. But again, that's still not a solution. At least it's part of it. It's like, is it a bacteria? Is it a hormone imbalance? Is it a vitamin imbalance? So I do think those things are important, because if we find a solution, people want to make sure they don't repeat the error and get back into that disease state. So my technology has two folds. It can go straight to solution, or it can actually tell you specifically, say if it was a bacterial infection. Every bacteria has, not only is it physically different from each other, chemically different, but it's also energetically different. So I can even identify, it was this virus, or maybe it was 5 strains, but I can actually give them the names of the viruses. I can tell them exactly which vitamins, and say, oh, you're nutrient deficient. They'll actually say, hey, is it an amino acid? If it is, which amino acid was it? So sometimes they get the missing pieces of the puzzle that they've been searching for, especially if it's chronic diseases. But as I said, this is a solution-based science, and that's what the technology focuses on. I've had many people say, oh, I've been on a machine similar to yours. It didn't do it. One of the words, I would say, not if people haven't been exposed to energetic medicine, it's usually the certain manufacturer. However, a chiropractor came in who had that machine, and I've never been on it. And she said, all I can tell you is your machine does a lot more than that other machine does. So even if someone says that they've been on an energetic machine, if it hasn't been a bioscan, this is like the Cadillac. This is like the spaceship. I mean, I don't know how to say, this is the Star Trek
Right.
machine.
Well, I think sometimes by the time people come to maybe a functional medicine solution or mindset, because like you said, it's a paradigm shift, they've kind of exhausted a lot of their hope. And so when they come in, you really kind of need to have an open mind, and it does kind of open up a whole new world, and it's solution based. It's diving into the roots. So some people, they might have an underlying symptom, but when you peel away all the layers, which your scan has this technology to do, getting to the root is really what you're trying to do. And then do you say that they have had a long term and they've had a diagnosis and they have a practitioner and they're just on maintenance where they're using prescriptions, but they're still feeling, they're still feeling their condition? Perhaps that number one, might not be a good fit of a drug for them. There might be another that would be a better fit, and while they're getting down to the root cause. But I think by the time they get to you that they are kind of exhausted. And
yes.
So I'm sure you have some fascinating testimonials that come to mind just to kind of offer that hope, because I think that's really what people need to hear, is that, they're already exhausted. They need to hear some testimonies of hope. So maybe you have a story that, that's like a case where it had gone on for years and years, or maybe you have some where it was kind of short term. So do you have any that come to mind?
Yeah, it runs the gamut. The neat thing is every time a patient comes in, it's like I'm about to see the story of their health. And I have no preconceived notion what it's going to show. The data is neutral. It just gives you the information. But a couple of people have come in, usually a lot of times it's fatigue, I'll be honest, they just don't feel good. Some people I've been able, after I've scanned everything that they've taken, we've reduced it. One person came in, she holds the record. It was 100 different herbs and products, and she didn't feel good. And basically we scanned them, and only 6 were her bioenergetic match. And once she only took those 6, she got her life back. I'm seeing that a lot, because you think the sicker I get, the more, and these are herbal things I'll take, so it's a paradigm shift for them. It's like, but I feel so tired. You're telling me to get off the vitamins. But again, that doesn't mean that's my philosophy. I'm just saying each story is a little bit different.
Right.
Some stories are a little, sometimes I'll be on a pharmaceutical and I'll find that only one pharmaceutical is their match. So after that, usually with the medical doctors, I will try to find another pharmaceutical. But if I cannot, we have to look at herbal, homeopathic. The nice thing is I deal with the doctors directly. I realize this technology is new, but because I am a pharmacist, they respect that I am a pharmacy expert. So if I do have to switch them from one total different genre of medicine to another, I will do all that negotiation with the doctor. Or if I feel like one prescription drug is not correct, the other one is. I'm getting excited with the people with chronic conditions. I'm realizing the science, the sicker you are, I don't want the patients to expect that they're going to come in one visit and then everything's solved. It's layers, Kelly. Exactly what you said, it's layer. And the technology tells you exactly the plan. Layer 1, you address that. Layer 2, layer 3. But the people with chronic conditions are coming just simply because the doctors are very honest. Hey, there's no cure for Parkinson's. There's no cure for lupus. We're just going to manage the symptoms. There's no cure for Alzheimer's. I'm not going to say this is a cure, and I'm not going to use that word cure. However, I have decided that I'm going to try to treat some of my patients energetically, which means I'm using radio frequency signatures that they've coded for that says it's going to heal those organs in the body. It's going to actually take them from a sympathetic nervous state, which is fight or flight, to a parasympathetic nervous state, which is digest and rest. And they're reporting tremendous results. Shaking is subsided tremendously. Things that, and I actually believe this may be one of the sciences that can actually maybe get there. But I'm just excited because, as I said, it just takes the mystery out. It's just people are exhausted and they're like, should I take this? Should I take this? And this is a yes or no test. Yes, this will help this condition. No, this will not. So we're getting better outcomes because there's really no guesswork. It's all in real-time data. This is not genetic testing where you send in a blood test and then 6 or 8 weeks later they'll say, okay, based on your genetics, if you ever have to take pharmaceuticals for high blood pressure, this is what you should take in this class. But even then, my science is about 10 years ahead of that, because even if it says, oh, according to your genetics, these are the drugs that are best for blood pressure, they're still, it may say ACE inhibitors. That's one of the classes of drugs that some people understand that name. But there can be 10 different ACE inhibitors. And then which strength do you take and how many times a day? So you have to actually get exactly the right ACE inhibitor, the right strength, the right dosage timing, and pharmacogenetics doesn't do that testing, but BioScan and BioEnergetics does.
No, I find it so fascinating because a lot of times people will go to a physician or their general care practitioner, which is amazing that they have that relationship, but they're not necessarily trained in every area of medicine. They have their specialty or nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
So like, because I work in the area of gut restoration, and so maybe their practitioner will say, you need to take a probiotic. So I think years ahead, how antibiotics have different strains for different bacteria conditions that they're fighting, then they will be able to pinpoint what type of probiotic, what friendly bacteria would be good to address. So, but then they just are told to take a probiotic, but they don't know which kind, how often, and what dosage. And so I am not one to blindly take supplements or anything, because you could be doing more damage, and people don't understand that. And I know a lot of people may have heard of the MTHFR SNP, and that's not a death sentence. I mean, that's your tendency, not your destiny, is what they say. And so knowing if you didn't know that, say you hadn't done genetic testing, then somebody wouldn't know that. But even then, on top of that, even if you have the knowledge of knowing that you have that genetic tendency, then you still don't know how much to take, how often. Mm-hmm. So it can do damage. And so, and also in addition, I know that you see some patients ongoing or clients ongoing, because what your body might need in one particular stage of your life would be different in another stage.
Yes, yes.
So that's where maintenance comes in. So can you talk a little bit about maintenance?
Yeah, maintenance, and this is the paradigm shift I had to have, because even at pharmacy school, we're always, we're trained kind of short term. It's like, okay, let's stabilize the blood pressure and let's put them on this medication. And then, the patient will say, well, I became allergic to it or immune to it, and, it was working and now it's not. And so I've heard the terms, sometimes we'll say allergic to it, immune, I became desensitized to it. But I believe what the true term is just basically their body energetically changed. Every year, there's no such thing as keeping a status quo. I totally believe every year you're either going a little bit up or you're going a little bit down. Very rarely can you just, walk that even line. And so as your body changes, of course, your medication would change. Right. So if your blood pressure is getting better, you're going to be needing less. You're going to feel like it's causing side effects. Wow, my blood pressure keeps dropping. It keeps doing this or that. Well, if you're getting better, maybe lower dosage. Maybe you don't even need it, or vice versa. If your health is going up, you're more stressed, you're gaining weight, of course, you're going to have metabolic changes, which is going to affect the changes of your pharmaceuticals. And also it changes not just pharmaceuticals, but herbs, vitamins, everything. Because sometimes we'll say, oh, I was taking this vitamin, but now it's not working. Well, with bioenergetics, again, there's so much guesswork. Is it truly not working, which is true? Or do you need a higher dose, a lesser dose, things like that? So that's one thing I do like about maintenance. And again, if I didn't have the BioScan machine, you would just be guessing. That's all it is. It's educated guessing. And that's
not comforting, because I think when you're working with practitioners and they keep tweaking to see.
Yes.
6 months later, we're still, you're still tweaking, and you kind of that is discouraging. You get off your protocol, and then you're spinning your wheels, and so that can be very frustrating for people.
It is very frustrating.
And so how receptive are the practitioners or the general practitioners when you're talking to them and communicating with them, because you have science to back it up?
Okay, this is a pleasant surprise, but I was hoping it would be a pleasant surprise. Most people assume doctors are very hostile toward this, and this isn't going to work well, and they don't want to hear about it. I would say 9 out of the 10 doctors are very open and very receptive. I think it's due to two situations. A, in medical school, they're trained that there's many modalities of health. So I think there's been a paradigm shift in medical schools where they know that, they've been trained allopathically, this is what they do, but they acknowledge that acupuncture can work, chiropractor can work, even other sciences they have in had. So they're not going to negate something. They're not going to condone it either. They're kind of neutral. And I really, really appreciate that about the medical establishment. Secondarily, I'm a pharmacist. And so as soon as you say pharmacist with doctor, they realize pharmacists are really the drug experts. That's what we spent 4 years in pharmacy school just studying about pharmaceuticals. Doctors are trained to diagnose correctly. If they don't diagnose correctly, how are they going to treat the patient? So their emphasis is diagnosing correctly. Once they diagnose correctly, there's, it says if you have this condition, prescribe this drug. So that's how the training is. And so we complement each other. So I find when I call a doctor or I give a note, it's very specific. I do both. I'll actually write notes, letters that even the patient can hand in, or I'll just simply call the doctor directly. And I find they're very open. They're very, and in fact, they feel like they have someone on their team. It's like, wow, I've got a pharmacist. And so they feel like they have a virtual team member, and they don't have to pay me because the patient already paid me. And I would say 9 out of 10 times they make the suggestions. I'll say, doctor, this drug I feel is not working. In my therapeutic background is both as a pharmacist and a bioenergetic person, which I know you don't understand bioenergetics, but I'm asking you to prescribe this drug, this strength, this many times a day, and 9 out of 10 times that prescription comes through that day. So I am beyond happy. I find, if anything, they're open, they're willing to talk, and they're willing to make changes on the spot.
That's very comforting to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And then and we're probably taking us and going back to something I already asked, but so also like household products and just general everyday things that build up your toxic load. Do you scan for those items?
Yes, and I want to make this clear. That's why I call myself BioEnergetics. I know I've been focusing on the prescription component, herbal, alternative medicine, but that's also one thing I do. I ask people to bring in anything that touches their body. I scan that, their creams, their shower gels, their shampoos. And not only that, but the computer has computer codes of all these chemicals, because people cannot bring in every chemical they get exposed to. But this can actually show me every chemical, if there's heavy metals, if there's radiation, you name it. But once it shows me that, this is a solution-based science. So then I can figure out the radio frequency code or the herb or whatever we're going to use to counteract that. That's going to actually work and get rid of that problem.
And so what about the people that do not live in your area? Because you are located in Sienna Plantation.
Yes, Highway 6, and where the Sienna Crossing exit is. So I do only if someone is not close by, I can do remote testing. As long as I can get a DNA sample. A DNA sample is just one little piece of spit in a plastic bag, and just like a little 1/2 inch of your hair, just 1 or 2, 3 strands. That's all I need, 1/2 inch. If you have a 1/2 inch, and put it in the same baggie, seal it, and then seal it in another baggie. But because that has your DNA in it, I can still run the test remotely. And I've done that a couple of times, and it's been spot on. Again, I've asked for no patient history. Then I calculated what the solution was. I would call the family member, and I would tell them what my results were, and they're like, spot on. So it's exciting. So people aren't restricted to just this area. If they cannot physically get here, I can do people anywhere in the world.
No, that's wonderful, because I think people get disheartened. Part of what I do is coaching, but I simply coach on, I refer people to practitioners like you, and then I keep them on the protocols that they established. But I, make food suggestions. I teach them how to read labels and things like that. And then some people that live in these more remote areas think, well, I can't do that. That won't work for me because I don't have access to someone like Dr. McClain. So that's not true. That's another blessing of technology, is that they have access to you.
Correct.
We are trying to offer hope, and that's why I keep looking down, because my questions are on my phone to keep me on track. My printer wasn't working. So technology is amazing when you know how to use it. Okay, and then let's see. We talked about that. Also, I don't know, with the different age ranges that you work with, can you kind of explain, do you work with children up through elderly, or?
Yeah, there's no age prohibition on this technology. I can work with anything. I can even work with babies. There's a way I can do so, again, as long as I have their DNA. That way they don't have to be still. I don't have to go to every little finger and toe on them. So there is no age prohibition.
Okay, and that is wonderful, because I know that there are a lot of moms out there that have concerns with their children, whether they have, like what I see a lot, and then the clients that I talk to have a skin expression like eczema or psoriasis, and sometimes you'll see little symptoms in the beginning, and then they grow into a larger problem as they age, and the toxic load builds up, and then stress factor builds in. So I, always encourage people that when they are seeing these symptoms of your body saying, hey, I'm in distress, to go ahead and start taking action. So that's good to hear, because, and then also, sometimes people say they are not wanting to use pharmaceuticals, but at the same time, alleviating some of that stress on the body while you're diving down to find the solution, and to get them off of some prescriptions as they're feeling better, as you're tweaking with your technology, getting to the root of the problem. That's really the main focus. And then people might be saying, I can't afford that. I'm sure it's, just super expensive. But can you talk a little bit about like flex savings plans and kind of how that works into your practice?
Yes, if you have right now this is not covered by traditional insurance. So, however, a lot of people do have access through their employers, through their corporate benefits, flex savings accounts, health savings accounts, and all the testing and all the procedures are covered by that. So that's a relief. That's a blessing to many families who have those benefits. If you don't, it is a cash-based business, and the starting cost is there's a wellness scan, and the wellness scan is really what it says. It's going to scan your organs and tell me exactly how well your organs are doing. Will not tell me any solutions, will not tell me why the organs are that way, but at least you can see if anything's actually crossed the disease state. It'll actually tell me what's preventative medicine and what's actually physically, if you went to the doctor, you would get a diagnosis.
And
so,
how long are those initial scans?
The wellness scan really only takes about 15 minutes, but I tell people to allocate an hour of time, because even though you get the results, I need to interpret them. We want to open the dialogue. They have so many questions. So the wellness scan is one hour minimum. And then if you want to do the solution scan, which is my most popular, that one's $444. And I tell people, be prepared for 2 hours of time for the first scan. That's when we're going to scan your body. We're going to scan anything you've taken in the last 30 days, anything you might consider taking in the next 30 days. Because if I scan you and you add something, you take something new tomorrow, we don't know the impact of that on your body. And that includes one follow-up. So 2 hours of time, and what happens, I will give you a protocol, and if you follow, and my intention is for you to follow the protocol, and you get one complimentary follow-up visit, so you can actually see the work that you've put in. You can see the changes. But the neat thing is people can already feel it before they have to physically see the numbers. They can tell if they're getting better, but it's a nice confirmation of that. And then if we need to do even more visits than that, if 2 visits aren't enough, because again, it depends on the layers, the follow-up visit is $77.
And so I think that the initial cost is an investment to your health, and the follow-ups are obviously, very reasonable. And if people get discouraged about that, the thing is that people that have long-term chronic illnesses and their maintenance, to me, that's very disheartening. I get very connected to the clients and the people that I talk to. I don't want them to suffer. And they say, well, I just can't do this anymore. I'm like, well, you can, and you don't really have a choice. So let's go ahead and make an impact on it and kind of help and investigate and try and stick that pencil into the hamster wheel to stop the cycle. And really, you're wanting to dive down and dig deep to the root of the problem, whether, you're one of those clients that the layers aren't that deep, or maybe it's been long-term, like since birth, and it's just building on top of each other. I'm really of the philosophy that our bodies were designed to heal. They have a lot more ability than we give them credit for.
Yes. And my goal is I've had a paradigm shift. A lot of times we're playing team defense. I've had a setback, or I have a flare up of my skin. And so you're trying to just take care of that flare up. This is a team offense. It's no longer team defense. It's team offense. It's to make that touchdown, win the game, be finished with playing that game. So that's my mentality every time I have a patient.
Well, I think, our ancestors, they didn't have all the stresses that we have today. With technology comes some added stress with, we can see more clients, you can do more during your day. I think the thought was when technology was starting to come in, what are we going to do with all of our free time? Well, now we're doing like 10 times more work.
Yes.
Everyone is too stressed out. We're always having a bear chase us. We're always in fight or flight. And people really need to get priorities in order. And part of that is your health and being your own health advocate and taking responsibility. And then we're helping by educating people and the practitioners that are out there and the technology, because people, if they don't live in your area, wouldn't know about you. So hopefully doing videos like this, and I was, blessed to have come across, your name and what all you did, and I was fascinated by it. And so you're very welcoming, and you're just a wealth of knowledge. So I don't know if you have any closing remarks, and the details in the description from our interview today. We'll have any kind of links or contact information so that you can get a hold of Dr. McClain, and just hope that you can digest all that we're saying today, and knowing that there's people like myself and Dr. McClain that are looking to help you and feel you're amazing and be able to live your life with purpose and bring back the joy that you're meant to have. So thank you so much, Dr. McClain, for your time. I know that it's precious, and look forward to working with you more in the future.
Great. I appreciate you, Kelly, and I appreciate your mission too.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Okay. Have a good one.
You too. Bye for now.